Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome to Jump Button Gamer Podcast. On this screen and under this mask is Mike Woodard, and on that screen and not under a mask is Kosta. If we were in Into the Spider-Verse, I think I would be Peter B. Parker. You are Peter Parker. Uh-huh. Is that a fair comparison?
Sure.
I think that's a fair comparison. You know, you get to be the heroic Spider-Man, and I get to be the lazy one. I think that's appropriate.
I also get to be the one that dies.
Well, yeah, but you're the one who's beloved and revered. Uh-huh. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What more could you want?
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. For anybody listening, I'm currently wearing a Spider-Man mask, and right now it is very hard to breathe in it, so I'm going to take it off for a second, so hold on just 1 second. On today's show, if you haven't guessed by now, we're going to talk about Spider-Man Miles Morales, because GameInformer has recently been putting out some previews of that game, so we'll react to everything we've seen so far, and we'll also talk about the user interface. Ooh, I'm excited for this episode. The user interface for the PlayStation 5. But first, Kosta. There is a scattering of video game movie news that we've kind of, like, maybe not missed, but, like, I wanted to kind of go over since it kind of fits the theme of Halloween. Mm-hmm. The Resident Evil movie, there's a reboot of Resident Evil coming out. Mm-hmm. And did you get to see this cast list?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's interesting. Yeah, I like Kea Scodelario. I never know how to pronounce her last name. She is playing Claire Redfield. You've got Robbie Amell in there, which is very interesting. He is very good. He was very good in Upload. Did you see that show?
I know the show, but I've never actually watched it.
Okay, I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's from the creator of The Office. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it has a nice like mystery element to it, but it's also funny. And Robbie Amell actually does a really good job. So that's very cool. So he's going to be in there as Chris Redfield. Mm-hmm. Tom Hopper is playing Albert Wesker. Avon Jogia is playing Leon. And then we also have Hannah John Kamen playing Jill Valentine. Sorry if I butchered names here, but like, did you see any of the Resident Evil films? Because to me, it was always like the video game equivalent of like the Fast and Furious franchise, where it's like they just keep making them, so somebody must be watching them.
It was also just very, very loosely based on the video game series. Like, really the only connection between the movie and the game was the title. Yeah. Like,
was it the case where like the first movie was somewhat connected-ish? Like maybe a little bit more grounded than the sequels?
And like an Umbrella obviously plays a role, but it's just like, you know, really no reference to any of the characters that everyone's familiar with. And you know, I saw the first two Resident Evil movies, but I hadn't seen any of the other ones. Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any of them, so that's why I was curious. But like, I'm interested in this reboot because I mean, it looks like they might be trying to, you know, they're definitely going to take it in a different direction.
Sure.
And with this cast, it's interesting to see what's going to turn out.
I mean, Resident Evil, of all the video game franchises, Resident Evil is probably on the short list of ones that could translate well to it, just because the genre of sort of being like a zombie, you know, post-apocalyptic style film. Like, I mean, that's a genre that's been overplayed a lot, but you know, especially over the last decade. But you know, I mean, it'll be interesting because you also have like because there's also like a sci-fi aspect to it a little bit, and you know, so I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they actually do, because obviously they're trying to you know, make this film appear more faithful to the actual source material. Right. You know.
Right. And I mean, to me, that's always a good thing. Like, I don't think you ever can go wrong if you actually are making a legitimate attempt to be faithful to the material. I think that's a good sign. That's a good. You're headed in the right direction that way. Speaking of being faithful to material, another movie that we got some news about recently is the Uncharted film is apparently making progress. We've got our first picture of Tom Holland playing younger Nathan Drake.
And he really looks like a younger Nathan Drake. I mean, surprisingly.
I think it. I have my general video game movie reservations because this film has been gestating for a long, long time. It's been in development hell. And then we have reports, Mark Wahlberg is playing Sully, which seems like an odd choice, especially considering that there's been some news that he might not have the mustache that Sully's character is known for.
Well, I think
so.
Right.
It seems kind of odd. That seems like an odd casting choice. Like if you I don't know if you know the series well enough or not, but like if you think of the character of Sully, you don't think Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess that they're making him younger because obviously if Nathan Drake's younger, then Sully's younger, and I mean I don't know. I mean because I know initially I think in the early onset of the Uncharted film, I think Mark Wahlberg was the one originally picked to be Nathan Drake.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, I remember there was a time that he was Nathan Drake.
And for me, that actually would have been a stranger pick. Than like him playing Nathan Drake to me would be more odd than him being a younger Sully.
Right.
Yeah. So, it'll definitely be interesting. I mean, Tom Holland definitely has the look.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for sure.
I saw a comment on a thread somewhere about it where somebody said it would be perfect if at one point they show like a flash forward scene and Tom Holland becomes Nathan Fillion. Because everybody loves Nathan Fillion from that short fan film that was made a few years ago.
I remember having a conversation with another friend, and I actually made the point of saying that sort of like short fan video with Nathan Fillion, in my opinion, is the single best, sort of video or live action interpretation of a video game franchise that I've ever seen. Granted, it was only like a 10-minute video or whatever, 15 minutes. I can't remember how long it was.
It was basically like a proof of concept video.
yeah, absolutely. and obviously, Nathan Fillion's amazing.
Yeah.
He has the charm and the looks to play Nathan Drake, and I mean, that would be a cool thing if they did that.
I do wonder, I do agree that Nathan Fillion is good. I wonder if he's just a tad too old for the Nathan Drake role at this point. I just curious, I mean, again, I agree. I saw the video and I think he did a very good job at bringing Nathan Drake to life, but that was quite a few years ago at this point. And, he's older now already.
I mean, you
imagine, I just wonder if he's just a little bit past that window.
Yeah, you imagine that they have sequels already in mind.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
For this, so.
Well, that's why they went younger, because they figured they can get a younger actor like Tom Holland, and then they can have him on the hook for the series, I guess you can say, for next 5-8 years or whatever.
Yeah, he'll just mature into the role,
right? Which would be cool.
It makes sense if they go, for them to go that route.
How weird is it going to be in like 20 years and we're going to be like, man, we've watched Tom Holland grow up in these movies. How weird is that going to be?
I mean, he's definitely found a niche for himself.
Oh, yeah.
In playing these pop culture characters. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than being Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
I would probably say the only superhero that I think is a step above Spider-Man, at least in terms of film, I would say is Batman.
Oh sure, yeah, absolutely.
But Spider-Man's like right there. Maybe you could say like Superman's up there. A little bit.
Yeah,
I
agree with you.
But now he's Nathan Drake, and Nathan Drake is one of the more recognizable, more iconic, game characters, of the last, 15 years.
Right.
He's the modern Indiana Jones.
Right. And that's so perfect that you brought that up, because I was going to say I think the biggest problem the Uncharted movie is going to have is this adventurer fatigue storyline, because really, if you watch the Indiana Jones movies, you play the Uncharted games, you watch movies like National Treasure, I know it's weird to bring up, but basically all these movies and games are exactly the same. You have a guy, a main character, who's an adventurer or an archaeologist or something. He goes around the world hunting all these little doodads, seeking fame and fortune. And then that fame and fortune is always hidden under puzzle after puzzle that takes him from here to here to here to here. And then he never actually gets the treasure. And then there's always some twist, and the treasure always gets destroyed or buried or ruined. So I think that's really the biggest issue this movie is going to have, is how it's going to differentiate itself. Sure. And stand out amongst that group. Because, like, even watching National Treasure, like, those aren't great movies. I think they're kind of, like, dumb Uncharted films. But it's like, but even just watching them, I'm just like, man, this story, I've gotten really used to this story over the last few years.
Speaking of which, I want Nicolas Cage to play Sully. There you go. Have Nick Cage play
That
Sully.
would be great. He could do it, to be honest. Just give him the mustache.
Yeah, no, and you could also talk about the Pirates film franchise, also sort of has a similar tone. I mean, Jerry Bruckheimer, he's all involved in all of that. He's not involved with Uncharted, but
right.
Yeah. So there are a lot of films that have come out, over the last, I keep saying 15 years, but that's how long it's been.
Yeah.
Right. But obviously going back to the, Indiana Jones is sort of the benchmark.
Right.
Sort of how it can differentiate itself, because you also have the Tomb Raider film that came out a few years ago,
exactly.
which was fine. It wasn't a bad movie at all. Like it was if you're a fan of the rebooted video game franchise, then this does a pretty good job of translating that into a live action film.
Right.
But I'll definitely be interested to see it. I have a funny feeling that this will be a film that will have a really interesting trailer. It'll be really, it'll draw people who are fans of Uncharted are, I think, just gonna go and see it.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think I think you're right. I think a trailer will be a definitive look as to how the action scenes are going to look like they're going to play out. You know what I mean? I think that's a big part of it.
There'll be big, action-packed set pieces. I mean, just like in the video game.
Right. And then does Drake do like cool things to get out of the action sequences? I mean, that's what we'll be looking for.
Tom Holland is known for his ability to do his own stunts and gymnastics and things of that nature. So in that sense, Nathan Drake's just another role where he gets to exhibit that skill set.
That's true.
So that aspect of it, he's going to ace it. No doubt about it.
Currently, Uncharted is set to release in theaters on July 16th, 2021. Moving on, let's kick this show off with what we are currently playing. Kosta, what have you been playing recently? We took a break for a week, so it's been a little bit. So what have you been up to in that time? More Hades or no?
No. I'm actually finished with Hades again. Great game. I've said it a few times already. But I jumped back into Call of Duty Warzone because they started a special Halloween event in the game.
Oh, I did hear about this. And I saw like an image of like the Jigsaw Billy puppet is in it.
Mm-hmm. So you could pay money and you could get the Billy skin, or you could get like a Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever. But they released what they called Zombie Royale game mode. Oh. And so what essentially what they've done is they pick a smaller part of the map, so you don't have the full map to play in, but they, I mean, essentially you do, but they sort of make the game move faster, right? Okay. So the circles close faster, and you have essentially less space to work with.
Sure.
But if you die, you don't go to the gulag or whatever and try and fight your way back in. You turn into a zombie. And so, and you can come and you can basically cure yourself as a zombie if you pick up 2 syringes, and syringes pop up on the map after someone is killed. So,
nice.
and you don't necessarily have to kill somebody. There could already be like a dozen syringes laying out on the map, and you can just go and pick 2 up real quick, and you're back in the game. And so essentially, you just want to be the last non-zombie left, right? And the end game is pure chaos. It is just pure chaos, because even as you get down the last couple of people, you still have dozens of zombies running around trying to kill you to get syringes so that they can get back into the game. And, you know, zombies have special... Obviously, if you're a zombie, you don't have guns.
Right.
But you can... you run incredibly fast. You can jump incredibly high. You also can throw gas grenades and EMP pulses and whatnot to disorient... you know, other players so you can get the jump on them. But it is so much fun. Like, it is just a pure, especially at the end, if you manage to make it towards the end, because really if you're a zombie and you revive and you heal yourself or cure yourself, you come back in, and even if you die again, you still come back again as a zombie. The only time you're sort of on standby is if you die as a zombie.
Right, I was going to say, if you die as a zombie, are you out completely?
Not completely, because then, because there's still the aspect of the game where if a teammate is still alive and they have enough money, they can buy you back into the game.
Ah, okay.
Right? And even when you're brought back in, and if you die again, then you're a zombie, so it's just like this... and
I like that, though, because then it keeps you involved the whole time.
Oh, yeah, and the thing is...
That's cool.
Right, and when you kill someone who's a zombie, they drop a lot of money. So it's very easy to recoup the cash in order to bring teammates back in. So again, you just constantly have people in and out, dying, turning into zombies. And again, the end is just pure chaos. It is, but like I said, it's such an adrenaline rush. It is probably one of the most fun game modes of any kind that I have played, especially for a multiplayer game. If you are somebody who is not a fan of multiplayer games, play this game mode. Okay. I mean, play it. But obviously it helps to play with people that you know. Like, that's always been the thing for me with multiplayer games, where I always prefer playing with people that I know.
Sure.
I mean, so if you're able to find people that you know, because, I mean, it's free. Warzone is free, you know.
Right.
And this game mode is available, I think, until, like, November 3rd or something.
Okay.
So there's still a little over a week left to play it. I would highly recommend downloading it and playing it. It is such a blast.
That sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like Left 4 Dead, but better.
It is, again, like, you know, it is probably one of the more fun and innovative things that has happened to Call of Duty in a long time. You know, cool. I mean, obviously zombie mode has been around for a long time.
Right.
You know, Warzone obviously has been going on for about a year now or whatever, and everyone's played, but it's still at its core just Call of Duty.
Perfect merger of the themes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect merger. Perfect.
Don't you love it when it works out that way? You know, it's
you
know, it's like when a new Rockstar game comes out, you know, because they always take the best features of the previous game and they mesh them into the new game, and you're just like, wow, why didn't they do this in the first place?
I mean, I will say, because the one thing that is irritating about Warzone is that if you do die early in a regular game of Warzone, if you die early and you lose in the gulag, then you're sitting there waiting and hoping that your teammate or teammates are able to come up with the cash quickly enough to get you back in. Otherwise, you're just sort of sitting there the whole time and waiting. You know, and I have been a part of games like that. You know, more often than not, I get bought back in, but still, though, I mean, and the other cool thing, a real quick mention, is that if when you come back, if you come back after being a zombie, the nice part is that whatever loadout you had previously, you automatically get back.
Oh, nice.
So if you're able to say get a loadout drop and you pick one of your custom loadouts, you don't lose it
Nice.
So when you come back and you have it, whereas in regular Warzone, if you die and you have to be bought back in, or even if you went in the gulag, the only way you get your loadout back is by either going back and retrieving your guns where you died,
Right.
or buying another loadout, or waiting for a free loadout to drop. So again, it just keeps the pace of game moving, keeps it aggressive and competitive. It is so much fun.
Awesome. Sticking with battle royales, I have still only really played Super Mario 35 over the last week and a half. Although, actually, now that I think about it, not true. I also dipped back into Spider-Man, mostly because of all this information about Miles Morales. But I know I've talked about Super Mario 35 for a few weeks. I wanted to point out I finally won a match where I told you about this last time we were on, that there comes a point where you get down, the timer starts counting down really fast.
Yeah.
And basically you have to do a lot of things to keep it from counting you out. I finally did it. I did it where the timer was down really low, and then I managed to do something. Basically, the only way to keep the timer to go back up is to chain like attacks together. So like if you jump on a Koopa shell and you send that Koopa shell flying, and it takes out a whole lot of Goombas and stuff like that in a row, all those add up, and then that's what builds your time back. So I was able to do that, and I finally won a match that way, and I was thrilled. I was so freaking happy. And then just the other day, I played a match while I was at work, and I was actually busy at work while I was playing, and like literally, I pulled out my Switch, played one match, and I won that match. Like, that's very rarely ever happened for me, where I win the very first match I play. So, accomplishments. I didn't take a tally of what my total win count is right now, but I think it's maybe around 20. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it might be close to that at least. It's probably at least 15, I'd imagine. So it's time for the main part of our show today, last week in game news, and I am so excited to talk about this game news because we've brought it up already, but GameInformer had a preview of Spider-Man Miles Morales, and they've been dropping videos that have been featuring different details of the game, and it's all been very exciting stuff. I think we have to kick it off with Spider-Cat. There is a cat in the game named Spider-Man that you get to take with you at least on one mission. We don't know if there's more, but the video that was shown definitely shows Miles taking a cat with him, and the cat gets used in combat. I just exploded with joy when I saw that video. I was over the moon. I'm like, okay, you got me, Insomniac. You got me. I know that we can probably make anything spider related cute or funny, or gimmicky. Like, we could do like Spider Armadillo, and we'll probably eat it up. But Spider Cat looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I didn't see the footage, but I saw the photo. I saw it pop up on Twitter, and who doesn't? I mean, there's I know there are people out there that don't like cats. So most people, the internet loves cats.
Of course,
and
the thing is, I'm a dog person. I have my dog here, and I'm not a big cat person, but I still couldn't resist when I saw it. The fact that he's going to be used in combat with you, that sold it. I was just like, up until that point, I was like, okay, there's a cat named Spider-Man. Okay, that's cute. He belongs to the store owner. Okay, that's neat. I like this little, bit here. And then not only that, the fact that Miles is wearing, this, cool spider hoodie. I saw that outfit, and I was like, ooh, that might be the outfit I wear for the majority of the game.
And see, what's funny too is I remember seeing the image and looks kind of like my cat. My wife and we have.
He does.
He's an orange tabby cat.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, you mentioned the cat, does things in combat. I'm just like, if it was my cat, you would just throw him at a villain. He would just lay there. He wouldn't do anything.
That's amazing. Oh man. That would be even more hilarious, like if this were like a Spider-Verse movie or whatever, and like he had the cat with him, and he thought the cat would attack him, and then the cat just goes, nah, and then just walks away.
Exactly.
That would be perfect.
Honestly, in that scenario, it would probably be, you know, I don't know, I throw my cat at the bad guy, and then I'm the one that ends up getting attacked. Like, he just turns on me.
Yeah, he just starts scratching you.
Just bites me on my ankles.
It'll be like the scene from The Grinch where like he like opened up a cabinet drawer and the cat came out of the cabinet and just started like clawing at his face.
Yeah. Pretty much.
So that was I think like the biggest surprise I think that was revealed. The other videos focused on some of the abilities Miles has that have been hinted at or shown a little bit already. Like he has what they're calling Venom powers, which interesting naming, seeing as, you know, there's a villain called Venom.
Yeah.
So that's okay, I guess, cool. But it's the same powers that we kind of saw glimpses of in Into the Spider-Verse, right? It's you know, electrical charge powers, and he has invisibility, which is cool because I actually do like the invisibility in terms of stealth. I think it adds to the gameplay because the stealth gameplay in the first Spider-Man was good. It was fine, but it wasn't like anything revolutionary, and it was a little bit repetitive at times. So like to add in more things to spice up the stealth combat and missions is good in my view. So that I thought was pretty cool. And, you know, we still have big questions. Like, what exactly is Peter's involvement in this sequel? Peter Parker. Like one of the videos they detail that it's right at the beginning, it looks like, where Miles is swinging around the city and he's meeting up with Pete to watch over a convoy. And this convoy holds the Rhino. And, of course, the Rhino gets out and he ends up in a fight with Peter. And Peter gets, like, beaten up to the point where he can't, like, fight him too much anymore. So then Miles steps in, and that's when he activates his Venom punch for the first time. And that's like the beginning of the game, which is cool because that's how the first game started. The first game started off with you taking down Kingpin.
Yeah.
So like it's a cool action piece, but it kind of makes you wonder, what is Peter's involvement in this game? You know, is he going to be like a playable character? Is he going to be just like a story guy or what?
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, because obviously I'm imagining that Miles Morales, because they're saying it's not like the true sequel to the Spider-Man game,
right?
A
lot of people used like Uncharted: The Lost Legacy as a comparison,
sure,
where like it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't a DLC,
right?
You know,
I mean. So really it just depends on the actual sort of, you know, scale of the game. Like how long is this game?
Right.
You know, what you know, how many hours is it going to take for you to get from beginning to end in the story?
Right.
Right. So I feel like making Peter a playable, I mean, but then again, you know, in the original Spider-Man game, like you had your moments where you played as Mary Jane, where you played as Miles. But I'm wondering, you know, if you play as Peter, but maybe not at times when he's being Spider-Man.
I was actually just about to say that because in the first game, you only played as Miles, you know, without his spider powers, right? You only played these sneaking segments where you try to get past guards. And I was just about to say, I wonder if maybe Peter's too injured to be Spider-Man for a while. And then maybe there are segments where you still play as Peter, but just not as Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, and that would make sense. I mean, obviously, if he gets beaten up pretty bad by Rhino at the beginning, then there's, you know, the plot device that allows Miles to sort of take over as the main character for this story. Yeah, I mean, I imagine obviously Peter's going to play some sort of role. I mean, it's just a question of whether or not, you know, you play as him. I don't anticipate. I mean, maybe Mary Jane has a moment or two in the game.
Maybe, yeah, I guess it could.
You know, I just don't know. It really just depends. But obviously, the 99% of this game is going to be you as Miles.
Right.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, otherwise you're not calling it Spider-Man Miles Morales.
I would hope not. Otherwise, that'd be very misleading. And then other cool small things that I think look very intriguing to me is that it looks like Miles has an app on his phone now that is used as like the equivalent to the police scanner that Peter had, where you would click R3 and it would scan the city for crimes. It looks like now instead you can just look at the app and it like tells you like what crimes are in progress, I guess, and I think that's kind of cool. Although I wonder how much does the app play into versus just roaming around the city? Do you still organically run into crime or not? That's what I'm kind of curious about, because the first game, like I said, like I love the first Spider-Man game, but like it did have a little bit of an issue in my view where you only had like a certain amount of crimes per district, right? Like you had 4 or 5 crimes per district, and then after that, nothing. You know, then every now and then maybe as you swing around, yeah, the occasional crime pops up. But like, so I wonder if they're gonna try to integrate more organic side missions. You know, like I know not every game can be like a Rockstar level Red Dead 2 or something where you know, I know not every game can do that, but I just want like a little bit something more.
I would say, given that this is a game that, I mean, surprisingly came out, you know, we're talking, you know, about a year after the original Spider-Man game, and it's not a true sequel. Like, I'm sure, like, at face value, like, it's going to be a fun experience. It's going to be a next-gen version of, you know, the game that we all played last summer. But I would imagine, though, it's probably not going to have as much meat on the bone, you know, as the first Spider-Man game. So I'm pretty sure, like, you will have those moments where you're swinging around and like maybe his phone will buzz, like, oh look, there's a robbery happening, you know, or whatever, and then you swoop down and you beat up the robbers, you know. I'm sure, you know, and they'll probably have a couple new variations of like those, you know, side missions and whatnot, but I would say the expectation would be that it's not going to be that much different from the original. You know, it's just a new story playing as a different character, and just sort of getting to experience it all on the next gen console.
Right, and that's fair, and honestly, I'll still be excited for that because the story was so good in the first game, and like the story, like the scripted moments and all that were to me were all great, you know. So it's like I do agree that I think this is one of those games where you go in expecting the story to be good, and unfortunately that means that once the story's over, then the fun of it kind of wanes down, unfortunately. But while you're playing that story, it's awesome and you're gonna love it. So that's what I'm hoping for, and if it pulls it off again, if they pull it off again, then I'm all in.
And isn't the just, if you don't get like the Ultimate Edition or the Special Edition that comes with Spider-Man, isn't Miles Morales, isn't it like only like $40
I
by
think
itself?
so.
Yeah, so that's another telling sign too. You know, it's not a $60 or a $70 game. It's $40. So it's gonna be a good experience. It's gonna be a fun game, but it's just not gonna have nearly as much content in it.
Absolutely. Last little bit of just quick game news before we move on. It looks like single Joy-Cons are gonna get $10 cheaper. I haven't had to buy a Joy-Con, but I mean, if you need to buy one, apparently they're going to be $40 now. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, it's just nice to hear. That's permanent too. That's not like a temporary. Like right now, there's some sales going on with the Pro controllers and Joy-Cons, but this is like a permanent $10 reduction. So, which is cool because I mean, I understand that a lot of technology goes into these controllers, but you know, once having to pay $50 or above for these things, like, it gets a little wearing.
Well, especially when you consider, like, technically, one Joy-Con's only half a controller.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
So the fact that, because also thinking about, Xbox controllers, PlayStation controllers are generally, 60, maybe $70,
Right.
maybe 80 if it's like a special edition,
Sure.
and obviously Microsoft has their Elite version of their controllers, and which, by the way, those are very nice controllers. um, so you're gonna drop, over $100, $150 on
Oof.
on it.
Oof.
But obviously has like you can customize the joysticks. You can swap out the joysticks and triggers and D pads, and to really fit whatever's comfortable for you when playing. But I know the Joy-Cons got a lot of tech in them, but the fact that it's like $70-$80 for
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
and just one is now 40.
Right.
I'm wondering if Nintendo is gearing up to release, because obviously people, there have been class action lawsuits filed because of Joy-Con drift
Right.
against Nintendo.
Yeah, which Nintendo still hasn't really addressed either. So.
And I'm wondering if maybe they're gearing up for releasing, because obviously there's the speculation. Nintendo's basically confirmed they are working on new hardware.
Oh yeah.
But I'm wondering if that also means that they'll be releasing, like, what, I don't know what you would call it, Joy-Con Plus or whatever, Joy-Con version 2 or something,
Yeah.
that corrects the drift issue.
Yeah, price drops generally indicate that new hardware is coming, so,
So, that could be the play there. Honestly, I think it'll just be a great idea. Like, forget about whatever new version of the Switch they might be working on. I think it'll just be a smart business idea for them to release a version of the Joy-Cons that just work.
That's brilliant.
I will say, because like I had to buy, you've seen the ones I have. I got the Luigi Mansion
Right.
green ones, and I had to buy those because I don't know, just out of nowhere, the left trigger on
Right.
the one Joy-Con was stuck and it wasn't working
Right.
any longer, and I could have just bought one Joy-Con, but I was just like, I like them matching, and it'd been really weird to have, and and for whatever reason, like during COVID, I couldn't even find just like a single gray Joy-Con. They
Right.
were all sold out, but somehow, Best Buy still had the limited edition Luigi ones, and I think they were only selling for like $65 or something like that. I was like, all right, sure,
Sounds like a good deal. Moving on to our console wars segment, and on today's episode, we are going to talk once again about the PlayStation 5, because while we were away, Sony decided to surprise us all with a state of play, and it was a state of play that finally detailed the user interface for the PlayStation 5. We also have more details about the PS5 we're going to go over as well, some news that dripped over the past few days, but let's just quickly go through the UI at the least. So, in that video, in that state of play, and most people have seen it by now, but let's real quick, they showed how the system's going to act from a what did they say? From a rest state. Mm-hmm. They powered up the system from a rest state, and it seemed to go right into the game. But the game also had like a toolbar of cards that are called activities. And, you could just hit a button and resume the game, or you could look at these cards and it would take you to a different feature of this console. I thought the UI presentation was pretty good. I thought the UI looked nice. It looked clean. I liked some of the things that I heard about it. Like they said, the PlayStation Store is going to be integrated into the console itself, so you don't have to click a separate app and then that app has to load and all that. It should just be right there on the console, which is nice. They described picture-in-picture mode, where if a friend of yours is playing a game while you're playing a game and you kind of want to watch what they're doing as you play, you can, easily share your screens, and you can put their screen in a small little box on yours. So, Costa, I'm assuming you've seen at least images of this UI. What were your reaction? What was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the UI like sort of in motion, but I've seen
Okay.
some still images of it. And my first thought was that it looks kind of like what I would expect from Sony. They they're it feels from what I remember of the PS4 UI. It's just like just a more refined version
Right.
of that almost. Obviously with other little features and things like that, sort of like in the background and
Yeah.
and also Microsoft is essentially doing the same thing.
Sure.
They're but then also for them though, I mean, you look at Microsoft's approach. They have the Xbox app, on phones. They also have it on Windows PCs and everything. So everything just looks the same across the board, even on like the Xbox One. So
You're
so
right.
so everything there's like that, just that cohesion, And I
That's
will
true.
say, not to necessarily turn away from talking about PlayStation, but
You would.
the Microsoft Store though, because we talked about a handful of episodes back that Microsoft was intending on upgrading the store and fix things. It is infinitely better. Infinitely
good.
better. I mean, granted, the bar that they had set for themselves originally was pretty low, so it wouldn't have really taken that much effort. But they really shot far and above where it was, in my opinion. And just like what you're saying with the PS5, like the store application seems to be more easily integrated into the console as a whole. It's more easy to find the things that you're looking for, or if you have a game already and you're looking for like new digital content for that game, it's really easy now to find. And honestly, I think that's really, really important. It's a good thing that Sony's doing that as well, because I have, let me put it this way. I've actually gotten to the point now where, and I thought I would always be one of those people that would forever be a physical disc owner. Like I would always want to have the case and the disc.
Yeah. Me too.
Like for instance, Amazon surprisingly has been offering pre-orders for Cyberpunk for $50.
Right.
They had a deal on it, but that was for the physical version of the game.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll pay the $60 for the digital. I realize like I just want the digital.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait for Amazon to have to deliver it to me. I don't want to have to walk into GameStop or Walmart or wherever to get it. I want to pre-order it, pre-install it,
right,
and then it's just there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. By getting it digitally, you're cutting down about 3 or 4 steps to one.
Right.
Like you or 2 really, I guess, if you want to say. You pre-order and then you install. Like and then you play. That's it.
And ultimately, I mean, granted, there would be a point where I'm like, all right, I'll just go with the physical version. If it was like $40, like a $20 discount, like, okay, yeah,
sure.
All right, sure, I'll go with the physical version. But
yeah, no, and I'm with you too. Like I was so ready. If not for the fact that the pre-orders for the consoles have been such a mess, I was so ready to get a digital only PS5. I was ready to fully make that leap to just say, and I agree with you. For the longest time, I was like, nope, I want physical copies. I like having my display. I like knowing that I have the game and nothing's going to happen to it ever because I have it right here. But no, at this point, yeah, I've kind of given it all up, given up the ghost, and just been like, all right, you got me. I just want to download the game, have it ready to go. When I take that day off to play a game, I want to play that game that day.
Yep.
Well, so
anyway, not to divert away from what we're talking about, but because like I said, I've only ever seen some photos, and it reminded me of the PS4 UI, like the the look of the OS and everything. Sure. But was there anything in particular other than like the activities feature or anything that really said like did it seem drastically different to you from the PS4?
I mean, I think it's improved in terms of looks, in terms of efficiency, in terms of we didn't get that like big hitter like quick resume feature, for example. You know what I mean? Like like they didn't show off that necessarily. Although it looks like jumping from game to game should be quick. It does look like that should be quick. I will say,
but you do have to though, like basically start from the beginning though. Like you are essentially rebooting.
It doesn't look like it.
No?
Because they were playing Sackboy, and then they showed off like, oh, okay, we have friends who want to play Destruction All-Stars or something. Let's go join. And again, I don't know how much of this is edited video, but it looked like, from what it looked like, he was able to hit like the join party button and like, and he was able to basically just jump into the Destruction All-Stars game. And it didn't look like it closed anything out. You know what I mean? And now again, we're not. I'm not 100% sure. One of the features that has a lot of people talking on podcasts, especially people in the industry, is there's a game help feature. So as you're going through a game, like for example, they were showing off Sackboy again. If you're stuck trying to complete a certain objective, you can pull up these cards that have game help. And for example, this one card in Sackboy showed you what path you had to take to collect this collectible. And then the person then followed that path to get whatever they were looking for. So that's what people are talking about. That's like the main talking point right now, because people are wondering how exactly is that going to work? Because, you know, we talked about on this show a few weeks ago how we would love like a level skip feature in games, you know, and it looks like this game might have that or the PS5 might have that, depending on what games take advantage of it.
Sure.
It looks like these cards, like I said, the ones that you can use game help, for example, some of the cards can also be used as sort of like a level select. Like you can kind of like see what goals you missed in a level or something, and you can like basically go to that level. That's what it appears to be. But again, the question is implementation. You know, are you going to get developers on board with having to hire somebody to go through their game and, you know, create little snippets of help for people? What about the people who write, you know, game guides on, you know, these websites, on wikis, you know, and stuff like that? Like, what happens to them? You know, does Sony hire their own wiki people to fill out these cards for people? You know, like that. It's a weird question right now. You know, like does Sony outsource all this information? Do they just like get algorithms to pull this information from the internet? No idea. But the idea is that you're supposed to be able to play the game and still be playing while looking up game help.
Right.
So that's what everybody's talking about. That's like the big thing. I think more people are talking about it because they don't know how exactly it's going to go down.
I mean, I would imagine this would be a feature that will be in their first party games.
Right, and that's what most people are thinking too.
You know, yeah.
Third party would be a harder sell.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to hire somebody to go through the game and essentially break the game in terms of, you know, trying to, you know, show players, okay, you do this to find this.
Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, it's a cool feature. I don't think it'll necessarily do away with, you know, people who, like websites that are known for publishing wikis and strategy guides and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, even if some third-party developers, take advantage of adding those features in to their games, you still have the people on, you know, Xbox or whatever, you know, that will still need those wikis, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't the PS4, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm recalling Sony having a feature where if you were stuck at a part of a game, you could let a friend take over for you, like from home, like online. Like
I don't know of this feature. I've never really utilized it, so I'm not sure.
Like I could have sworn or it could have been Xbox. I can't remember, but I remember one of the major consoles showed off a feature where, oh, you're stuck at this one part. You've got a friend who happens to be exceptionally good at this game, or they've already completed this part and they know how to do it. You could, you know, they could with their controller at home, you could then essentially give them control of your game, and they would get like a stream feed of your game on their TV, and they could take over and help you get through that part of the game.
You got me. If that's a feature, I've never used it.
I could have sworn it was a PS4 thing. I for whatever reason, it's in the back of my mind. It popped up, But either way, this seems like a more simplified evolution of that, because I feel like even if you go on a wiki looking for help, there's obviously a greater sense of accomplishment by doing it on your own.
Right.
Like I don't think there's a greater feeling of defeat than handing your controller off to somebody else.
Yeah, I agree.
And being like, all right, I can't do this. Can you help me?
It's almost like why do you even play games at that point?
Right. I mean,
just watch a Let's Play at that point. Just watch somebody else playing the game.
Well, still, even then, like, you could watch someone do it a bunch of times, and you could still struggle.
Well, right. I'm just saying in terms of, like, why even play the game if you're just going to do that? You might as well just watch a Let's Play of it.
I mean, it was so funny because when the weekend after when the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remasters came out, we went and visited my family at their beach house, and my youngest brother was playing it, and he was stuck because he couldn't get a gold medal on one of the I can't remember which park it was. It may have been the Chicago park on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1, but he wasn't getting gold medals, and he was getting so frustrated. He just hands it off to him. He was like, you do it, and I got him the gold medal, and I'm just like, if I were him, like, I could never do that. I would just keep trying it until I got it. But he just gave up on it. He's like, here, get the gold medal.
It makes me think of my wife, actually. Like, if we're like, there was a time I think where we were playing like she loves Sly Cooper, but like we would like trade off playing levels or something. And if one part of the level got too hard, she was always just like, no, here.
Sure.
But So that's like those are some of the biggest features. So that's most of what of the UI. I think it looks cool. I can't wait to see it in action. And speaking of which, obviously we're only a few weeks away from the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox as well. To the next generation, it's almost here. But we're going to stick on PS5 for right now, just for some quick hit topics. Apparently, it's going to launch with Apple TV, Disney Plus, Netflix, Spotify, Twitch, YouTube, Amazon Prime, and Peacock might also be coming on day one. So those are just some of the entertainment apps that are going to be available, which is odd because you can pre-order the remote that they made for the system. Like they made like an actual dedicated PlayStation remote. Sure. But like it's one of those remotes that has like 4 buttons that have dedicated apps. So like you can press this button and it goes to Disney Plus, right?
Right.
For whatever reason, one of them is Spotify. And I'm just like, are you really using your PlayStation to play Spotify?
I will say there are some games and Microsoft, obviously, like all the consoles, they have Spotify. Like it's really sometimes nice to, depending on the game you're playing, just run music in the background.
Okay.
Sure. And having the Spotify app, I'll use that feature from time to time.
But I guess like, does it justify having a dedicated Spotify button on the remote that you pay money to buy?
I mean, maybe not, but
yeah. See that was just the weird thing that I noted when I saw that. Also,
honestly,
go ahead. No,
I was gonna say, like, I understand why they continue to have these apps on the boxes, but I feel like at what point? Because I feel like the majority of consumers now have a smart TV.
Oh yeah, or like me, you have a Roku.
Right, or Roku or whatever it might be, and you are just able to access these apps directly through your TV. So it's like, it's a little bit of redundancy.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
I mean, I really don't know many people any longer that actually have installed, have those apps. And so like Spotify is like the one where I'm like, okay, like I get it because you want to play music in the background, playing certain games.
Right.
But otherwise, why, like, again, unless your system's hooked up into, say, an older TV that is not a smart TV, sure.
Right.
But
Or unless it's a weird situation like how HBO Max isn't on Roku right now.
Sure.
So, like, maybe you use it on the PlayStation, something like that. But otherwise, I agree. Video game consoles are not the center of all entertainment anymore. Like like that brief window of time that they maybe were.
People gave understandably, gave Microsoft so much grief because they were trying to sell the Xbox One. Like, originally the Xbox One was supposed to be this all-in-one media box. You could run your cable directly through it. Like your Xbox would be on just perpetually, just always on.
Yeah.
You could, and even the Xbox One X to this day, like the Xbox, the Series X and the Series S have done away with the HDMI in.
Right.
The Xbox One X still has it on there, but the Series, so they're doing away with it. Microsoft got so much flack because, like, oh, it's not just a video games box. Like, it's they're trying to sell it as like this media box, or whatever.
That's an expensive media box.
Yeah.
Let's see. $multi-$100 console, Roku.
Yeah, exactly. So
$40 Roku.
I appreciate them ditching it, and they're like, this is just a video game console.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And last little bit thing, this was kind of hinted at in the teardown video of the PlayStation 5, but it is official. We kind of called it a few weeks ago. A third-party company has already started making attachable shells because the white wavy taco shells of the PlayStation 5, they can be removed fairly easily. And a third-party company called Plate Station, Bravo, guys. They've already started making designs for third-party shells, so they're like black and red and blue, which I gotta be honest, kind of excited. I'll buy a black shell for $40.
I wonder if they'll work out a licensing deal with Sony to do like Spider-Man and other stuff.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to say. And I think this really has kind of implications of it because, these console developers, they love to do these special edition consoles, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a Halo, there's a Last of Us, there's a Spider-Man console in the previous generations.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Darth Vader PS4,
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be willing to, is Sony just willing to accept that maybe won't be a thing, or maybe like they'll have exclusivity on like, specific designs or whatever? Because if the shells are replaceable and you can get third-party brands, then that kind of kills the limited edition console.
Right, exactly. So, if you are demonstrating how easy it is to swap those out, then you're really not giving any incentive to anyone to spend money on a special edition console, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, if I were Sony, I would just strike a deal with this company, because if they build up the consumer base, they're like, yeah, go ahead, do Spider-Man plates, God of War plates, Uncharted plates, do all of our first party franchises, make designs for them, and we'll take our cut, and and honestly, that would be a very consumer-friendly approach. Honestly,
Absolutely.
then again, Sony could just go out of their way, and they could make the plates themselves and sell them directly. But
right, and that's what'll be interesting to see going forward. Maybe they hold on to like the limited edition plates, and they're like, okay, we'll put these out ourselves and stuff like that, and maybe they'll charge a little more, but. Brings up interesting possibilities. If they have Spider-Man plates, I'm going to be in line buying one. Digital line. Sure. Wrapping up. As always, it's time for Jump Button Trivia. This is a running game between me and Kosta, and we try to guess the name of a game based on 3 lines of that game's review. We are given 1 line at a time, and if we can guess the game correctly after just 1 line, we get 3 points. If we need another line and then we guess it correctly, we get 2 points and then 1 point if we guess it correctly after all 3 lines are read. The catch is, if at any point we guess and we're wrong, that's it. 0 points. We're done. And Kosta, I have an interesting amendment to propose to you about this. Because way too often in the last few weeks, we have both been zeroing out. And it's been awful. So, I want to propose a small little amendment. And I don't think it'll break it. I think it'll help. I propose that after the first line is read, if we need a second, if we like commit to saying, okay, we're not going to guess on this line, or no, I guess after the second line is read or whatever, I think we should be allowed to ask one question about the game that the other person has to answer. And it can't be, is this game? You know, it has to be a question that helps you narrow down the focus of your train of thought.
Okay.
You know, but you can only do this after the second line is read. Okay. Because then the point value of 3 points still looms large. But then I think it might be a little bit more fun, because then if we can't guess it after getting that question, then maybe we don't deserve the points after all. So what do you think?
All right, I'm willing to give it a try and see how it affects things.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just one question. It can be whatever you want to ask, except for, is it this game? That it can't be your guess.
Okay.
All right. Let's do it. Let's try it. So I believe our score is 10-8.
Yep, you're leading 10-8.
All right. Kosta, I'm going to start with you since I proposed that amendment.
Okay.
All right. So here is line number 1. Only a minute after blank enters a dilapidated cabin, the hero finds himself attacked by a menacing figure with an axe and then trapped inside by villagers who seem focused on only one goal, his death. If you need me to read that back, I can.
You go ahead and read it one more time.
Only a minute after blank enters a dilapidated cabin, the hero finds himself attacked by a menacing figure with an axe and then trapped inside by villagers who seem focused on only one goal, his death.
All right, so obviously it's a horror game. Axe. See, I haven't played very many horror games. I'm imagining that this is a game that you've probably played, because I feel like that's because we picked these games based on at least I feel like that's how it's gone so far, because I know all the games that I've picked for you to guess are games that I have played.
I think they've kind of followed that pattern, yeah. I think a few times I tried to see like if I could trip you up with a game that I thought you may have played. Right. But yes, so, I think for the most part it's followed that pattern.
So I've never played Alan Wake, but that was an Xbox 360 exclusive, so I can rule that out because I don't think I've played that. I mean, is it? I've played Resident Evil games, but this one doesn't sound. I haven't played all of them either, so. Because I'm trying to remember, because Resident Evil 4, even though I haven't played it, I know takes place sort of like in a village type of situation. But, alright, I'm going to go ahead and listen to the second clue.
Alright, clue number 2. We don't want to give away any spoilers, but rest assured that the game features the franchise's widest selection of creatures, all of them amazing and twisted in their own unique ways.
Alright, so just to confirm my thought, I want to ask, is this game developed by Capcom?
Yes.
I'm going to say Resident Evil 4.
Bingo. There you go.
I should have gone with my gut.
Yeah, you should have. You should have. See,
I never played Resident Evil 4, but and I knew it sort of took place like in a village type setting.
Right.
You know, but I wasn't sure if that's sort of.
See, this is one of those scenarios where I felt okay going with as vague of wording as I could for that first line, because I had a feeling it had specific enough language in there that you could get your mindset to it, but it left just enough doubt. The last line was, although the game moves at a quicker, frenzied pace as Leon runs through the region while blasting villagers, there are still good old-fashioned scares to be found.
Okay.
So, yeah. Good job. And good use of the question.
Yeah.
See? Isn't it nice?
I feel like that question, though, is sort of like, but I feel like, I'll admit, like, I feel like mine is sort of a roundabout way of asking, is it this game?
But I'm okay with that. Because again, you kind of had the idea of what this game was, though. You know, you kind of already kind of had it. If you don't have it at all, then asking a question might help, you know, narrow it down. So
sure.
Yeah, you know, yeah. Sure. Anyway.
Okay.
So good job. You officially tied it up. Now it's my turn to now it's my turn to crush your dreams.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, first clue. Set in a Grand Theft Auto style sandbox environment, the game offers a number of side and story missions in its single player component, along with a multitude of multiplayer options that makes for some of the most explosive action around.
Oh man. All right, so let's see. We've got GTA style imitators. So there's Saints Row. There's what was the one? There was like Streets of LA or something. True Crime Streets of LA. That's what it was. Terrible game, but I don't know. It really was. It was awful. I don't know which ones had multiplayer though. I think Saints Row has a multiplayer. I mean. And even then, it's a series, so I don't know. I don't know which one might be which. I think Saints Row the Third, I think, was the most recent one and the most popular. But again, I could be wrong. I really want to make a guess, but I know it'll be wrong. So I'll go with line number 2, please.
All right. During battle, there is an impressive sense of destructive freedom in blank, as structures and objects can be toppled and demolished not only by using explosive weaponry or your hammer.
What? A hammer? A hammer? GTA style game. Can you read that line one more time? Sorry.
During battle, there's an impressive sense of destructive freedom in blank, as structures and objects can be toppled and demolished, not only by using explosive weaponry or your hammer.
Oh, man. Okay, well, now I don't think it's Saints Row anymore, nor True Crime. The hammer has me completely thrown. I was, like, convinced it was, like, Mercenaries, and I know that the first Mercenaries, I don't remember there being a hammer. I don't know about the sequel. The other game that I could think of with destructible environments like that is, like, Red Faction. And I remember playing the multiplayer of Red Faction, but I just don't remember there being a hammer. Unless it's Fortnite. That is the only thing I can think of that has a hammer. But that's really an axe. More than anything. Alright, my question is this a Battle Royale game?
No.
Okay, well, at least that eliminates a wrong thought. Okay, so it's got to be back to, unless it's a well, no, it can't. You just said no to Battle Royale. Okay, that eliminates a whole set. I I don't like you. I'm going to have to go for line number 3, please.
This will clear it up.
Okay.
For sure. It's a third-person action game that plays out entirely on Mars' surface.
Oh. Wait. Red Faction.
Which one?
Oh, come on. Oh, you suck. Oh. Surface of Mars.
I mean, they all take place on Mars.
Right, I know. Trying to think. What was the most recent one? God dang it. Red Faction 2?
I'll give it to you because it is it's the second one. It's
okay.
Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it wasn't called Red Faction 2?
No, you had Red Faction and then Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, there were only the 2 games, right?
Well, then you had Red Faction Armageddon that came after Guerrilla.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, like I said, the only 2 things I could think of when it comes to destructible environments was Mercenaries and Red Faction. I did enjoy playing Red Faction's multiplayer.
Yep.
They had a sniper that could like shoot through walls or something. It was like a laser sniper.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Well, good job, sir. You have caught up, although I pulled ahead just a bit, but see, look at that. One little amendment, and the game just suddenly got so much more fun. Well, until next time, sir. That's our show for today, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. You can connect with us on Twitter and Facebook with @JumpButtonPod. Until next time, see you in the Funny Papers.